Today's lesson is on the distributive property. But if I'm on the outside of these parentheses, how do I distribute myself to the inside of the parentheses? I think I need to multiply. But what happens when I multiply myself by myself? Do I get myself squared? Oh no. Before getting into the distributive property, I want to talk about 3 vocabulary words. They are term, coefficient, and constant. The word term represents the number and or variable that they're grouped together but separated by addition or subtraction. So 6a squared is a term and 5a is a term, and they're separated by subtraction. And then 12 is a term and it's separated by addition. So in the example above, we have 3 different terms: 6a squared, 5a, and 12. The term coefficient represents the numbers in front of each variable. So we have the coefficient of 6 and the coefficient of 5. And finally we have the word constant, which represents the number that's at the end that does not have a variable. The number 12 is the constant in this example. Next, we're going to review the difference between like terms and not like terms. Like terms are 2 terms in which you can combine, and not like terms are 2 terms in which you cannot combine. So think about what needs to happen for you to be able to combine 2 different terms. So here we have 3x minus 2x. Those are like terms because they have a common variable and we can combine them, and that would equal 1x. But over here we have 8x and 7y, different variables, which means we cannot combine them, so they're not like terms. Now we have negative 5x squared plus 9x squared. Both of them have an x, and then they also both have the same exponent. So all you have to do is add the coefficients. Negative 5 plus 9 is 4, and you have 4x squared. And now for this other example, 5y, 2y squared. They both have y, but they don't have the same exponent, so you cannot combine. You have to leave it like that. Third example, xy plus xy. They both have an x, they both have a y. So how many xy's do you have? We have 2xy. But on this next example, let's see, they both have a y, but because the second term has an x and the first one doesn't, you cannot combine them. That's as far as you can go. And then our last example, we have xy squared and 3xy squared. So you have the exact same thing. How many xy squared do you have? You have 4xy squared. But on this example, we have x squared and x, y and y squared. So they look very similar, but they're not the same, therefore we cannot combine. They are not like terms. Here are 3 different examples in which I want you to practice combining like terms. So I want you to pause the video, write them down, and try it on your own, and then check your answer. Okay, check your answers. 8x squared, negative 17p, and then lastly, negative 6.1 y squared plus 13.7 y. So now, with learning everything we have so far, we can actually get to use the distributive property. Let's do 3 examples together. 2/3 times the sum 6y plus 9. So when you have a number outside of parentheses that you're multiplying by a sum, it means that you have to take that number and you have to multiply it by both parts of the sum. You have to multiply it by everything inside parentheses. So we have to do 2/3 times 6y. And then we also have to do 2/3 times 9. Now, don't freak out by the fractions. These are actually really easy. You can, a couple different ways. You can first, anytime you're multiplying a number by a fraction, you're really multiplying it to the top number, which is, so 12/3 y. Or, instead of multiplying to the top number, you could divide by the bottom number. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and now multiply to the top number, which is 6. So, let's keep simplifying. 12 divided by 3 is 4, so we have 4y plus 6. So when you multiply 2/3 by 6y, you should get 4y. And when you multiply 2/3 by 9, you should get 6. So that right there is your final answer, 4y plus 6. Here's our second example. We have a negative sign out in front and we're multiplying by 3 terms, 7x squared, 4x, and you could think of this as a -2. Now, so a negative sign out in front really means you're multiplying each term by -1. So -1 times the first term, times the second term, and times the third term. And now, think about what happens when you multiply by -1. All you're really doing is changing the sign. So it now becomes a -7x squared. This addition sign becomes a -4x. And then this subtraction sign becomes a +2. Here's our last example using the distributive property, and this one it has a couple steps to it. So first you have this 3n that's way out in front, but it's this subtraction of 2 that's right in front of parentheses. And you are actually going to take the sign in front of the 2 and think that you're going to distribute a -2. So the 3n will come down, and then -2 times 4n is -8, so -8n. And -2 times 4 is -8, so -8. So now that we've distributed, I want you to look to see if you can combine like terms. So we have 3n minus 8n, those are like terms, and you should get -5n, and then you have -8 that comes down. And right there is your final answer. Okay, I'm shopping at the grocery store. Suppose I want to buy 3 cans of tomatoes at $1.25 each, and then I want to also buy 3 boxes of pasta at $1.75 each. Write an expression in the form of the distributive property, and then evaluate the expression to find the total cost. Okay, so 3 cans of tomatoes. 3 cans of tomatoes, and each one costs $1.25. And then I'm also buying 3 boxes of pasta, in which they each cost $1.75. And then if you add those two together, you get the total cost. So, but the only thing that's wrong with this is it said to write it in the form of the distributive property. So I want you to think backwards now. If we've multiplied both of these numbers by the same number, to write it in the distributive property, you can do it like this. 3 times the sum of 1.25 plus 1.75. And do you see how these two expressions are equal, but this one is in the form of the distributive property. So now we actually have to evaluate it, which just means let's find out what it equals. What is 1.25 plus 1.75, and then that number multiplied by 3. 1.25 plus 1.75 represents $3, and we have to multiply that by 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. So we're spending $9 on tomatoes and pasta and making some delicious spaghetti. So there's everything you need to know about the distributive property. Good luck with the lesson.